So tell me about your day.
My day's been interesting so far. I think the main thing my day has involving, which is what's going to be happening right now, is you and I are going to be discussing with one another as equal individuals why we agree and disagree on the basis of getting back together with your ex significant other.
And that is what we're going to be talking about today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nick Allen,
I'm Ryan Allen, and
and
welcome to
the Outliers podcast.
the brandest, newest episode of existence is here. Oh boy, howdy, do we have a good one for you here today. We are staking our claim on our opinions. We are standing on rocks we are willing to die on, and we are going to fight to the very bitter end on the topic. Should you get back together with your ex significant other, girlfriend, boyfriend, person of interest, however you view your former partner?
This wasn't like something we had to get down. Ryan recently made a decision I don't completely agree with.
Oh boy.
And that is why we decided to, you know what, let's make an episode about it
No,
and talk it out on.
no, this is why you decided you wanted to make an episode about it. You were sitting in the Target parking lot with me right when we were about to get out the car because we were getting hot chocolate and whatnot. We have good times together and whatnot here, people. We hang out outside the podcast. But we were getting some hot chocolate, and then he was like, you know what? This would be a good idea for the podcast we could do together. We don't have this written down in the notes idea we have for 200 other ideas that we could have done together.
This is fresh. This is fresh. I feel like there's a lot to explore here.
Yeah.
I've already spent like, what was it? We spent like 2 hours on call of you getting berated between, me and Marianne just being like, are you sure this is the right decision for you?
Yeah, the wounds are still fresh from that experience right there. But anyways, to the point.
Yeah, so I guess maybe we should start with just like, what do you think is the dividing factor that like you two broke up in the first place?
Well, I think we should also clarify whose side is what here right now because
Well, I'm gonna.
we have two different states.
Well, the person who got back together with their ex-girlfriend has it is okay. There are circumstances where you can get back together with the ex.
That is
And
true.
I'm saying it's rarely a good idea. There are exceptions. There are exceptions. Some people do work things out. And I do think there are times where there are specific problems you need to overcome and you end up rounding back the same person and it works out the second time. Those are far and near in between. I do not think that that is general healthy advice
Okay, but
for
so as a
relationships.
blanket statement for the purposes of this conversation, getting back together with your ex is a no-go.
No go. Yeah.
Okay, so that is your stance right there. My stance is that I believe it is personally okay to get back together with your ex significant other so long as certain precursors are met ahead of time for there to be warranted a second try in the relationship. Or a third if you're a psychopath.
I don't know what kind of things have to go right and wrong for it to be, oh, let's give this a third try.
And you know what? Second try, that was a mulligan. We're both dealing with different things. Third time, it'll be a lot better. There won't be that war that's going on. You know about the war?
The war.
Yeah, that war kind of
It's
muddy
like,
things a little bit. Let's try this
it's
again.
like we're fighting demons at the time. The demons have been conquered. I have found Jesus. She has found Jesus. And now this relationship works.
Things that come to a religious proportion. Turn out we are able to properly give this the adequate try that a relationship requires. All
Yeah, but
right, so anyways, yes, I am of belief that if certain precursors are met, then it is okay for people to get back together that previously dated one another.
yeah, if you're saying like recently, it's like, oh yeah, we've been apart for a week, but we decided to give it another try.
Yeah.
It's like roller coasters. If you throw up the first time, just keep going on and again, and eventually you stop throwing up.
Yeah, except for you don't want to get back on a roller coaster ever again. Why do I personally believe that it is okay to get back together with your ex?
Mhm.
Well, like I said, there should be certain precursors that are met ahead of time before you make the decision of saying, okay, hey, we're both, of sound cognizant mind here to say we are willing to give this thing another shot. For one, I believe that if your morals, your values, and your ethics are sound, are willing to be tested on a frequent basis, and they align with the other person, then I believe that is one precursor that can be used to determine whether or not you are, good to get back into a relationship with that person. So, for example, I have the value, I guess you could say, of wanting to teach my own kids, like give them their own education, not put them into a public education system like how many other kids in the United States are in. Like, I prefer for my kids to be taught in a private school environment or in an environment that is conducive to a learning experience that I wish for them to have. And that is something that the person who I'm seeing right now, who we're going to call Kennedy, that is something that she also shares as well. That is a similar core value that we wish to have in our lives for the future. Now, granted, this is like talking about a future that's like, what,
Yeah.
10, 15, 20 years down the line and whatnot. But it's still an important one to have either way
Mhm.
because that is talking about your future. That is something that you want and that you are going to be working towards having. And it's important that when you are in a relationship, that you and your partner are working towards similar goals, or at the very least, like I said, have similar morals, ethics, and values in line that you wish to be tested and utilized on a daily basis.
But those kind of fall apart because you're talking about the future. You're talking about hopefully a long time from now with kids. Please tell me it's a long time from now.
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
Okay, but that has to be built upon by the present. So
Mhm.
it's like, sure, you guys want your kids to be educated in a similar manner,
Mhm.
but to have kids, you have to have a large foundation for that, of a healthy relationship.
Mhm.
And it's have the reasons that you broke up in the first place and the things that drove you apart been resolved in a
Mhm.
sufficient manner. It was like this warrants a second chance.
Mhm. And that leads into precursor number two right there. Have previous problems from the past relationship been resolved in any matter, shape, or form that is conducive for this thing being given another try? So, the girl I'm seeing right now, like I said, we're calling her Kennedy for purposes of staying anonymous here because we don't need to be divulging a whole lot of like privacy
You
stuff
don't need
about
anyone
her.
looking on your Instagram just like,
Yeah,
Kennedy.
yeah, no, we don't need any of that happening. Anyways, to the point. The reasons why Kenny and I broke up recently were because of me. That I didn't do anything that was like unbecoming to being in a stable, committed relationship. I didn't cheat or anything like that. Let's not get that twisted, people.
Yeah.
Where I was at the time is that I was a freshman in college. I was going through a very major transitional period in my life. And I believed because of a few specific reasons that were occurring in my life, they made me believe that I wasn't able to be a proper significant other to her. So that prompted me to break up with her. Now I'm a graduate from the University of Central Florida. Go Knights, baby. Like 3 months fresh out and whatnot. I realize now that a lot of those like perceived problems that I believed to be having when I was a freshman in college, they didn't really matter much in the long run because a lot of those problems that I was experiencing, like that's just constant life stuff that you're going to be living on a daily basis. Yeah, there's going to be times where you're not able to commit enough time to the relationship that you're going to have, and there's going to be days when energy is low, or there's going to be some necessities in your life that are going to precurse your wants during your life, and those have to be taken care of. But that doesn't mean despite all of the woes that you may be facing and whatnot, that you're not able to maintain a solid, strong, and committed relationship with another person that you value and hold dear.
Well, you make it sound like it was a clean break. As someone who was there, as someone who talks to Kennedy regularly, is good friends with both of you, it was not a clean break because there was. I like to put it as simply as you fucked around and found out.
Okay, to be fair, did I say it was a clean break? No. Obviously, it was. Well, not
Yeah.
obviously. No one knows what happened here. Whatnot besides you
Yeah,
value
yeah,
committed
but it's
relationship.
like the break was it was messy, and you all were able to be civil in like a collective friend group in a group setting, and that is a very good thing. I've had a lot of breakups in my time. I don't think I'm in any bad spaces with like 90% of my exes. There's one that I avoid, but for the most part, it's
Yeah, we're not gonna have that one. Are
yeah. But on this thing, like one of my exes, like one girl seeing freshman year last Halloween, I saw her and her fiance at like a Halloween party, and we all like took shots together. Like it was like I don't leave on bad terms. It's I recognize we broke up for reasons, and sometimes those reasons are muddled and difficult. Like I've gotten back together with exes before too, but those were circumstances of this wasn't a difference in opinion. Like my ex Nicole, we broke up when I left for college because we were going to different colleges, and then tried getting back together. It was like, you know what, let's try this. And even then, it was I recognized that in the years that followed, I grew as a result of being in that relationship, but ultimately being in that relationship wasn't the right thing because it was a way of me backtracking and being like, this is familiar and this is comfortable for me, even though I'm in this new location and I should be exploring other relationships, even if that relationship was at the end of the day a positive influence. So it's in the sense of it can be seen as backtracking. I'm not going to pretend like all relationships is, oh, that's backtracking, that's bad. Because you and Kennedy, you guys did have a good relationship back in the day, and ended it despite that. And you can grow past those things. I am cautiously optimistic. I think you guys have made some pretty dumb decisions.
Okay, well, to be fair, in regards to those dumb decisions, 2020 was a year for all of us.
2020 was
Look,
rough.
we don't talk about 2020 for a whole lot obvious reasons outside of just personal. I'm pretty sure everyone here that was alive during that time period does not really want to reflect back to those times and whatnot because that was dark for a lot of people.
Yeah, it
I
was difficult.
Yeah. Yes, it was. But to the point where you think that it could be seen as you're backtracking and whatnot. I personally don't view you going back to your previous significant other as a means of backtracking or anything along those lines. I understand how people can view that because, oh, you're going back to something that was supposed to have ended and you're supposed to quote unquote do better after the fact. But no, that's not always the case. Sometimes maybe that person that you were originally with, that might have been the best person for you, but you just didn't recognize that. And some people, unfortunately, they may not have the abilities to go back to that previous relationship because of whatever might have happened to cause it to end in the first place. But just because you go back to someone that you used to date, that doesn't mean you're backtracking. If anything, that could just mean that you are recognizing that there was a fault on either your end or their end or the entire
Mhm.
like relationship as a whole that was not properly discussed and worked through. Now that you are of a outside perspective or a sound mind looking at it, you can go, oh, okay, I see where I messed up or we messed up
Mhm.
and how we could come together collectively again to work through this issues or issues that we had, or even before we even collectively come together, talk about all this stuff, get some closure on some certain issues that might have occurred, and then go from there as to what is perceived to be the best route forward, whether or not that's getting back together with them or just being cordial with one another in a friendship dynamic, or maybe even not discussing or talking with them ever again in the future.
And I don't necessarily mean that situation with me was backtracking because I said I
Mhm,
did grow a lot in that relationship.
mhm,
Like Nicole was a catalyst who encouraged me to write my first book, and she got that ball rolling like by being an encouragement. So it was still, like I said, a positive influence, but I still could
mhm,
have grown without trying to hold on to that piece of home in that situation.
mhm,
And I don't, again, I don't claim to have all the answers. I like you and Kennedy getting back together could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. But
mhm,
it's generally getting back together with someone. You all broke up for solid reasons. Y'all
mhm,
had these different points in your life.
mhm.
And I guess that leads into like one question I want to get your opinion on is just like general. And I guess I know the answer already. Do you believe, I guess you believe in the right person, wrong time.
Yeah, I do believe that there can be such thing as a wrong person, wrong time sort of thing. Because
Right person, wrong time.
yeah, right person,
I
wrong
guess
time.
all of the variations.
Yeah.
Wrong
Well,
person.
I think
Wrong
that's what I
person,
should.
wrong time is just I got back together. They
Oh,
weren't for
my
me.
bad.
We tried it.
I thought I said right person, wrong time. My bad.
You said wrong person, wrong time. I'm like, that's just being
Whoops.
toxic.
Yeah, that
Like, hey, I know I broke up with you, but
at
let's give
that
this again.
at
Let's give
that
this another
point
try.
go to therapy because you will freaking need it. If you cannot recognize the fact that you are communist China, that red flag is waving. You need help, buddy.
Stay toxic, my friends.
No, don't. Don't. No. For legal reasons, we do not support that claim.
What law says you can't be toxic?
The one that you end up breaking, I don't know. Anyways, to the point.
Show me the anti-gaslighting law.
Anyways, That should be a law, in my opinion. That's a topic for another day. Anyway,
Laws that should be implemented.
that'll be an episode right there. I do believe there can be such thing as right person, wrong time, because there's a lot of people that we meet in our life
Mhm.
that we wish we can interact with on a frequent basis. But because everyone's lives are so complex and intrinsically diverse, there's not always going to be periods where the stuff that you're doing and the stuff that another person's doing just isn't going to align. And you can see that within your own friendships right now that you may have with people. You can be friends with someone and whatnot, and you may want to hang out with someone one day, but guess what? They may have something going on that day that may not allow you to be able to hang out with them that day. Or if you're seeing a significant other or want to see someone in that fashion, they could be going through a rough point in time in regards to maybe personal matters to where they're just not able to emotionally invest as much as they want to into a relationship dynamic that you would want them to be doing or that they would want to be doing as well. So there could be the right person, wrong time, but the wrong time that I think happens to a lot of people on a frequent basis, and what happened to me is that there are certain events that happen in your life that necessitate over your wants. Stuff that occurs that is a necessity in your life can cause for there to be a divulgence of wanting to pursue something as opposed to needing to pursue something.
What do you mean by like needing to pursue something? Like you
So
need to pursue a relationship?
for example, no, nothing says you have to pursue a relationship unless it's for specific purposes. Like getting into a loving, committed relationship, that's something that is extremely
Mm.
voluntary. And that's not talked about enough. Like being in a relationship with another person in a loving compassion, that's extremely voluntary,
Yeah.
but at the same time can be very complex and contrinsic or intrinsic, whatever that word
And
is.
big word you don't know.
Yeah, big word. Oh, look at me. I went to college, lol.
Yeah.
4 year degree for nothing, baby. But, anyways, some relationships, they are necessary, like workplace relationships, you could
Yeah.
say. Like,
Oh, okay.
you need to be on a steady basis with your coworkers if you want to be able to make.
I'm just sending memes through Microsoft Teams.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
not.
That's not efficient, though. You want to be able to make sure that you're in a relationship where if you're working with another person, you know they're going to be efficient enough to get the task done within an orderly fashion and whatnot. Or, like, say, for example, being with your family members and whatnot. Some of those relationships are necessary because those are people within an inner circle that are able to help
But
you
what we're
through
talking
these
about, like
filters.
voluntary romantic relationships, and I
Mhm.
think that does bring me to something that I think is very important is the ability to be yourself and be single for a time. That's one of the things that I was telling you about earlier. If someone is consecutively within relationships and you've never known them to be single for an extended period of
Mhm.
time, to me, that is someone who's, oh, I need to be in a relationship. I can't handle being on my own or without having a significant other in that sense. I've spent a decent amount of time single. I spent a lot of time single, and that time was me working on myself. I work on all my side projects. I work on this, and it is time that I was able to get a better understanding of who I am as a person without anybody else influencing that. I think that's a very important thing for people to understand. And
Mhm.
everyone's going to go through it differently. And admittedly, I've seen some relationships work where, oh, someone is just going from relationship to relationship until they find the person that works. But I don't think that's a good way to go about things as a rule of thumb. Like, you need that time alone to figure yourself out.
Do you not believe that you could be independent enough within a relationship dynamic to get that individual one on one time with yourself to still be able to pursue all those things that you just mentioned? Like being
It,
able to grow yourself or work on certain things that you wish to accomplish within your own time or anything else that you might have just discussed there.
you can, but you have to be very conscious and very deliberate about that. You have to recognize that I am my own person without my significant other. And you have to be conscious of like who is that person without whoever I'm dating.
Isn't
It's something you have to be very conscious of.
Don't you also have to have that same level of consciousness though when you're single and wanting to commit your time to
It
all that stuff as well?
it's more
To,
forced when you're single because when you're single, there's no significant other to lean on. It is me, and that's not. I don't mean to downplay the role of friends and family, but significant others pose different. role in your life than your friends or your family.
So it has a different role of emotional security, you mean, sort of thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
And some people choose not to be in relationships, and I commend those people who don't need that kind of stuff, but I do. And as someone who recognizes like, oh, I want to be in a romantic relationship, I also know I need that time alone to figure myself out. And I've gone through character development, and it's something that I did best because I had that time alone to reflect on who I was. You can have that on a relationship. It is something that must be more deliberately done to say, I need to figure myself out, or I need to make sure I know who I am before I commit myself fully to being with someone else. It's like that thing where it's like if you can't be happy on your own, then you can't rely on someone else to make you happy.
For the people that are listening right now, too, let's keep this in mind as well with this particular point that's going on right now. This particular point is being brought up because who I am seeing right now, we just became official the other week at the time of us recording this, and we talked for a solid 6 weeks beforehand. But before that 6 week talking period, Kennedy had just gotten out of a relationship about 3 months prior to us getting back to talking with one another
I was
again.
trying to avoid that context, but if you felt the need to add it, yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I felt like I needed to add that as well because I feel like we kind of just jumped into that point right there
Yeah.
just a little bit. I feel like it's pertinent to the story as well.
Don't get me wrong, I love Kennedy. I think she's done a lot of character development in her own. She's made a lot of tough decisions
Yeah,
in recent years that, frankly, I don't think she had the wisdom or the knowledge to make a few years prior.
like
You as a
me,
boyfriend is just
no,
like,
no, me
yes.
recognize that, but that's something that I'm glad that I'm able to recognize. Though I can recognize like the differences between her back then and her now, the choices that she's made to become a better person for not only herself but the other people around her. And that is all stuff that is indicative of green flags, letting me know, hey, this is something good that I'm willing to get into, which I guess leads me into point number three. Has there been significant change from the person that I used to date in the past into who they are now that is indicative of a person of character that you were willing to be in a committed relationship with? When I broke up with Kennedy X amount of years back, we're not going to get into the weed of these, but when
Yeah,
I
yeah.
broke up with
Don't let him know too much.
yeah, 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 yeah. Y'all can only know so much about the private life, okay? Don't be no ninjas stalking and whatnot. But when I initially broke up with her and whatnot, after the period of us like being broken up with for like a few months here, you know, I heard things through the grapevine about the particular decisions that she was making, who she was hanging out with, the situations she got involved in, and all that stuff is instances where I can look at and see, okay, these are actions that she is deliberately choosing for herself to be in that are not conducive for being in a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
Now, cut to X amount of time later here, certain decisions that she is making now are a
Mhm.
lot more, you know, fruitful, I guess you could say. They're a lot better for her and they're allowing her to be able to grow properly, just like from a personal standpoint
Mhm.
and also a relationship standpoint with her friends and her family as well. And a lot of the situations that she is now in, they are circumstances of life. It's not stuff that she can necessarily control
Yeah.
on a frequent basis, but they're just things that unfortunately happen. And that is just life right there, acting in its own way.
Mhm. So she's grown in someone strong enough to handle those circumstances. And I feel it's worth mentioning your development in the time because you've become a lot more understanding, more wisdom. Because back in the day, there was a time where you're like, oh, I want the benefits of the relationship without calling it a relationship.
Okay,
And
so
if you don't want to go into it, that's fine. I just felt the need
let,
to get point.
yeah, let's not go into that one right there.
Yeah.
Not because of like, ooh, I'm ashamed of what I did or anything like that. It's just a matter of like, okay, that gets it into a lot more of like the privacy aspect
Yeah.
of stuff between her and I. But yeah, that is like
But like I'm saying, you grew from that
I
experience, and
did.
now it's you look back, it's like, okay, I did not make the best decisions, and I recognize my own role in why things went south.
Yes, yes. I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh look, what do you know? If it isn't the consequences of my own actions coming back to bite me in the rear, baby. Oh boy, did I have it coming for me.
And it's like, oh man, I wonder who's causing all these problems for myself. And it's like I look in the mirror, oh, it's me.
Who's that clown staring back at me? What's going on here?
I love that meme.
I didn't put on makeup. What is this?
I love that meme where it's just a guy progressively putting on clown makeup with every decision.
Yeah, that was me for a period of time there. I think I grew out of that.
You did go out of that,
Yeah, I hope
and
I
I
did.
brought it back in because I didn't. Again, I don't want to make it sounded like for a while I was like, oh, Kennedy was doing all this wrong, but you were doing wrong. But you guys did grow, and it's just, is this the best decision for the both of you? Kennedy hasn't been out of a relationship for a while. Have you? I guess I don't want to go into that personal stuff.
Well, if I've been in a
In
relationship,
relationships really with anyone else.
no. So after I broke up with Kennedy, a little while back, I just wanted to take the time to myself. To your point,
Yeah.
I wanted to take the time to myself to be able to grow and be better than who I was right now because I didn't really like the person who I was looking at back in the mirror. And I recognize that if I tried to do anything, this is about to sound very fucking toxic, but keep in
Stay
mind,
toxic.
no, don't be toxic. Keep in mind, this is like a years back and whatnot. But I recognized that it was best for me to just stay single and work on myself for a good amount of time. Because if I wanted or tried to do something with any other woman within the foreseeable future, quite frankly, I would have just been using them and saying, okay, I'll call the Uber later. And that would have been that. That's how I would have acted right there. With yeah, you're looking at
Ooh.
me like that. That's some toxic shit.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Don't do that, guys. Don't be
I've
single
never
and
been
then
like the
just
call the Uber, just for like, "Ah, fine, you like I want to be
nah.
little spoon.
No, I would have been the call to Uber guy. I would have been
Call the
that sort
Uber.
of toxic, and I did not want
It's
to be
also
that.
cold in Indiana, so I'm like, I need a cuddle buddy.
We'll wait on the Uber for the morning.
Hold me.
They probably don't have heated seats in the front. It's okay.
I just want to be little spoon. Is that so bad?
I mean, if you find yourself a woman that wants to be big spoon, then no.
Ah,
And you know what? To each their own. Man.
teach them. I
I do not judge. I just simply observe.
I'm largely joking. I'm largely.
Cat.
No, I'm good with big spoon.
Is you though?
Yeah, I am actually. I'm big spoon most of the time.
Y'all smell that? Smells like some bullshit.
How would you know? You're not there.
Exactly, because I'm the big spoon. I'm on the other side.
Oh,
Anyways, we're getting off topic here. To
um,
the point, I would have been that sort of toxic back then. Just the hey, call the Uber guy. I didn't want to be that towards other people,
yeah,
and I recognized that I wanted to work on myself. If you are that level of toxic, then you should not be in a fucking relationship, and that's something that I have personal experience with right there.
oh yeah.
I will agree. There are instances where you just need to look in the mirror and recognize, okay, you could look better both inside and out. Point is, I worked on myself for a certain period of time. Yes, I was single during that time because I believed I was not able to be in a relationship with another person. Doesn't matter if it was with Kennedy or with another girl. I needed that time to be able to
Yeah.
personally work on myself. If you look in the mirror and recognize that you need to work on yourself in your own time, and you definitely 100% cannot be in a relationship, then don't
Hmm.
be in a relationship because that's just going to end up hurting more people outside of yourself in the end and
Yeah.
whatnot. So during that time, I ended up hurting myself physically because I ended up wrecking my knee. Lol.
Oh.
Yeah, don't play rugby, guys. It's a rough sport. You don't want to be repairing your meniscus. But I did take that time to myself to grow personally. I didn't have an experience in a relationship with anyone else outside of Kennedy. And now here we are.
Yeah.
I'm back together with Kennedy. I see how it could be a bit of a concern that I'm jumping back into a relationship with her, especially since she's the only one that I've ever been in a relationship.
And Kennedy's a sweetheart. Kennedy's great. I'm just like, is this the best decision for the two of you? And back to toxicity. I recognize I've been the toxic one in relationships quite a bit. Don't look at me like that.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, no shit. The dude who's saying stay toxic. I've been toxic a little.
No,
It's my bad.
well, because I make jokes about it, but I look back, it's like, wow, I was like the asshole in this other person's story. And I would tell a story, and it's like parts of it were like, oh, this is funny. But then other people are like, wow, really? You were that guy? Like, for example, I'd see this one girl, it's like, oh, I want to take a break for a bit. And the break is like, oh, I want to see some. It was a bad pass.
Break is I do not want to be with you right now. I'm going to be with another person just because I want to, and then I'll be back together with you.
Yeah,
That's some toxic
I
shit.
know it's toxic, and I recognize that.
Mhm.
And it was actually who I like. Again, I was taking shots with her and her fiance at some point, like one Halloween, and it was like I took the time to actually say I recognize I treated you badly. I'm glad you are in a happy relationship now, but I wanted to apologize for that. We were drunk and laughing about it. I was like, yeah, I recognize I was an asshole. I was definitely, and then there were,
Playing games, you know. You know, I was the goalie and the striker at the same
and you know that story. I messed around. I found out that was not a fun night for me.
time.
That was a very memorable Super Bowl. I think this other one's relevant because I was doing a study abroad, and right before the study abroad, I meet this really nice girl, and we break it off because we just met, and I'm going away. I come back the next semester, and I want to see her. I want to try it again because we broke up because I was going away. But then she started seeing someone else, and it was like that weird kind of like, oh, that was just not really expected, and I had to adjust to that. And then at some point, she invites me out to coffee, which was just really weird.
Yeah, you just got done crying in the shower the night before, and then you're like, "Oh, redemption,
Redemption.
redemption.
And
Maybe there's still a chance."
I was talking to my friends about it because I was really caught off guard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would she want to get coffee? She's seeing someone. Like, that is not a good sign.
Yeah.
She's the one who suggested coffee. She's the one who's like, oh, we should like take some time, generally catch up. I'm like coffee? She's like, yeah, let's do some plans. And then she's like, yeah, that sounds great. Smiley face. And I'm showing her my friends, and they're like, I don't trust that smiley face. That's not a good sign. And I'm talking about one of my friends, and she's like, "Okay, well, let's run this through." Because she's seeing someone. Like, if she's not happy and she's wondering what could have been, what would you do? And I'm just like, I'm guessing be a homewrecker isn't the answer you're looking for. And I recognize like, oh, that's really bad. And ultimately, we ended up not having coffee or anything. But I recognize I've been like, oh, I'm the toxic one. I'm the one who needs to get over these kind of issues.
Yeah.
And not even just so I can be progressive in any specific relationship, just so that I can improve as a person. So that when the right person I want to get into a relationship comes along, I am someone that they would deserve.
So to round off this section of the topic here, and to your point from what we've both said, you shouldn't be getting back together with your ex, or really even getting together with anyone if you're on some toxic boy shit. Right there. Don't be trying to get into a relationship if either you are playing games or if the other person is playing games, especially if that other person is your ex. Because you don't need more emotional turmoil being added onto that stuff when you just went through breaking up with them in the past and now they want to get back together, sort of thing, or you want to get back together with them, but one of you is playing games. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think you should be getting back together with someone if they're going to be playing games or like trying to cut corners or like slither their way around
Yeah.
certain issues and whatnot. That's not conducive to any sort of healthy relationship, regardless of whether or not it is of a romantic value or not. So,
Mhm.
I think at this point we can come to a consensus here on the question: should you or should you not get back together with your ex? Me personally, I think after this discussion, my answer at this point is it depends.
Obviously, it depends for you. You're the
It
one in a relationship with
it
your
heavily.
ex.
Well, I feel like you can agree with that as
No,
well
no, I
too. Like,
can. I
yeah,
can.
like it heavily depends.
I think it's a difficult situation that requires that you navigate difficult feelings and have a strong level of self awareness for both you and your ex. And I think it's not something you can necessarily do alone. You need
Mhm.
people outside the respective relationships on both sides to be like, okay, here's what changed from then, this is now. And someone who doesn't have any stakes in the game to be like, okay, this is a bad decision. Or
Yeah.
I see that you've made the effort and put the time into changing, and that this is not something you're doing just because you're lonely. You're doing it because you genuinely feel that you can make it right.
Objectivity of outside perspective is usually the best perspective that you can get, especially with touchy subjects like this one right here. Because you don't want to be making that decision through rose gold colored glasses.
I can't tell you the number of times I've been the one on the outside perspective, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, he's cheated on you, or like this or
Okay.
that. And it's like, why do you think what like Why would you give him a second chance after that, or something along those lines?
His dog was fluffy. I wanted to keep petting it. I can't see Pablo if we're not dating
I can't
anymore.
argue with that. If she has a dog, she can get away with murder. Like, I want to see the dog.
I'll do anything for my little fluffer. I'll do anything for my dog. My
That's
dog's
why y'all
good.
got together because she doesn't have a dog and you do.
That's the reason right there.
Kennedy's on that toxic stuff.
That's some toxic shit right there. I'm gonna be like, no, you are only the fifth, sixth most important woman in my life behind my mother, my sister, my dog, and then my grandmamas and my aunties.
I like that numbering. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you see how that makes sense now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, ooh, this leads into something important too. Regardless of whether or not you get back into a relationship with your ex or with another person, as you will, make sure that you are putting your needs above their wants. However, it is okay to also put their needs above your wants. Look, a relationship is a give and take sort of thing and whatnot.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to be required to make sure that someone else's needs are superseding of your wants, even though you may want to be
Yeah, I was like,
doing
I need to help them because my thing isn't as important as making sure their well being is okay.
yeah, and the vice versa as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes your needs supersede their wants, and you shouldn't feel bad about that because your needs are valid.
I was thinking of like when I was long distance with Nicole for a long time. So we talk so frequently, a lot of times it was casual. At some point, it's like, oh, I'm playing video games, she's studying, and we still just have like the camera on. But there were moments where it's like, hey, I need your attention. I need someone to talk to. And the needs of making sure my significant other is okay supersedes the need for me to play this game. And
Mhm,
the relationship I was most recently in with Zolop, it was I want to like perform, like do stuff with my club, work on some of my side projects. But
mhm,
there were times where it's like, hey, I'm really stressed because she was in like a graduate program, and it was, I need someone to talk to, I need someone to vent to, or help me
mhm,
understand these feelings. And okay, yeah, no problem. Because like if I'm dating someone, I want their well-being cared for. And
mhm.
frankly, if you don't enjoy like spending time for them or with them, or at least making sure that they are healthy, then you probably shouldn't be in a relationship with that person anyway. If you
Mhm.
value your wants over their needs.
And to the opposite side of that spectrum as well, there are also times where you just need to not be like around your partner on such a frequent basis. Like I'll forego a little bit of privacy here on this point and whatnot, but one part of the dynamic between Kennedy and I is that she wants to be able to talk with me on a daily basis, whether that's call, text, or me in person. Like that's something that she needs out of a relationship. And that's something that I'm willing to respect right there. But something that I also need too is that sometimes I just need time to be able to decompress and not stress about any sort of outside factors as well, because I can be very easily overwhelmed about so many things
Yeah.
that occur to me on a frequent basis. So it's that balance there of being like, okay, she has these needs of needing to be able to talk to me on a daily basis in order to feel that communication
Hmm.
and that loving aspect. Whereas I sometimes also need that time to decompress and be able to not feel overwhelmed in some aspects of my life, whether that's like in the relationship or personal things I got going on right there. It's that balance of being able to recognize, hey, these are both needs that the other person requires, but sometimes one supersedes the other depending on circumstances that arise during the day. And that's on a case by case basis, people. This isn't black and white. That is something with a whole lot of gray area right there. Yes, I do want my needs to supersede her wants and her needs sometimes, but guess what? That's not always the case. Sometimes you need their needs and wants to supersede yours because that's how you maintain a loving, committed dynamic with the other person.
Hmm.
Keep stuff spicy a little bit too.
I thought about that a few weeks ago because every relationship I've been in, I've had those different dynamics. And I don't really know what it is I want because I
Mm.
always respond to what it is the other person wants. I'm kind of like a dog. Like I'll do my own thing if you're not here, but I'm really happy if I get to see you.
I've been told too, I'm the quintessential human version of the golden retriever.
It's the golden retriever
So
boyfriend.
we're right there with
Let's
you.
go.
Let's go.
But
Dogs for life, baby. Ruff, ruff.
I feel like that's something I need to figure out about myself and what I need in a relationship because I feel like I like the little context of like either Snapchats or like just texting
Yeah.
sporadically throughout the day. I have not had that kind of time to figure out a healthy relationship for me because all my relationships have been defined by bad circumstances.
Hmm.
I'd see Nicole right before I move off to college and we have to do long distance. Right before I go to Madrid, I meet this other girl and we barely get a chance to have a relationship before I go away. And in my most recent relationship, I'm about to graduate and move away right as we hit it off. And I have not had that kind of stable being in the same state as my significant other for an extended period of time, at least not without a pandemic. And I still need to figure it out because that's not a situation I've really been in and like what the world's going to be, at least once I move. I would think it's like, oh, I want to like weekly dates and stuff like that. Maybe I want to see more of you.
Okay, then that leads into two questions I have. One of them is a callback to earlier, which is what you asked me. Because of all of those personal experiences that you live, do you personally believe in right person, wrong time as well? Or is it more so a matter of happenstance for stuff that occurs in life that makes you believe, oh, okay, I guess this just wasn't meant to be, sort of thing?
Hmm. Right person, wrong time is a very rare thing. And I don't believe in any one right person for you.
Okay.
I believe relationships are the summation. I'm just going to quote The Good Place here. Two people get a good feeling.
Shout out.
Yeah. I love that show. Two people get a good feeling and then they work on building a relationship. Soulmates aren't found, they're made. Like, you don't meet the person who's like, oh, I'm made for you. Some people get that feeling, sometimes it works out. But a lot of the time, it's I like this girl. I am going to go on dates with her. We are going to have issues because we are different people with different
Mhm.
wants and needs, but we will bridge that gap. We will make a relationship that works for the both of us, and that'll lead us into the long haul. So a lot of people will think, oh, it's this one person I have to be with. I've never felt like that with anyone else. Well, you have that history with that one person. So, of
Mhm.
course, you're not going to feel like that way with anyone else because you're not giving yourself the opportunity to. And even then, it's not going to be the same way. Like, you
Mhm.
can't have the exact same thing with one person that you will with others. That doesn't make any relationship better or worse. It just makes it different.
Mhm.
So, when you say right person, wrong time, I think you can have a person who you can have a long, healthy relationship with and it be bad timing, but it's not like this is the right person for you. It is one of the people who could be right for you.
So that leads into my second question. What do you believe are some of the perceived ideas that you want out of a relationship? And have any of those ideas popped up in your previous relationships that you had?
So, some of the things I know I need is I need someone who I can trust and feel comfortable with.
Mhm.
And I've tried to find commonalities. Like, I think, like, oh, I need to be with someone who's funny, who makes me laugh. But I've been in relationships where it's like, oh, okay, she wasn't really necessarily funny. Two out of three girls I think of are like, oh, they're hilarious. Like, we laughed a lot. But
Mhm.
then one of them was like, wow, it was just really peaceful being with this other girl.
Yeah.
And it was I don't really think it's beneficial for me to say these are the aspects I need in a relationship because I'm sure I'm going to meet someone who is just completely not what I expected.
Mhm.
And it could be a relationship that works really well.
Mhm.
So it's not beneficial for me to say this is what I need to have in a relationship because I could meet someone and just like this is not like anyone I've dated before,
Mhm.
but this is still something I would like to explore and try out. And if they also get that mutual feeling, we give it a try, see what our dynamics are and what comes of it.
To bring it all back around here, ladies and gentlemen, should you or should you not date your former significant other? And that's a question that you have to answer for yourself. Because what the hell do you think? We're going to give you the answers for your own situation? No,
We don't
you're
know who
your.
you are.
Yeah, we don't know who you are. You're your own person. What are you doing? Go live your own life, man. Go live your own
Also, if
life.
you're in a situation right now and you think, oh, let me listen to this podcast for the answer, I would just go ahead and say no. I mean, actually, I feel like there was some
Yeah.
advice where it's like, you know what, these are stuff I didn't think of, But if it's like, oh, all my friends are saying no, maybe this podcast will tell me something yes.
Yeah, no, no, buddy. If your own friends are telling you no, then no. If your family's telling you no, then no. If your friends and your family are telling you no, you are communist. China, you are a red flag. You're
We're
blocking. You need to go seek mental help immediately.
you seek mental health.
Go get professional aid or
The
some
the
shit
the,
like that.
the search for enlightenment.
You are the toxic jester, my fellow amigo.
On that note, this has been a great episode of
Yeah,
the Outliers podcast.
yeah, fantastic episode.
Yeah.
We covered a lot of interesting stuff here. Keep in mind too, this is all anecdotal stuff. We do not condone any actions that are not good. Anyways, thank you very much for listening. And until next time, my name has been Ryan Allen.
I'm Nick Allen.
And have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you very much for watching Outliers or listening to. This is the podcast. What am I saying?
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.